A chilling revelation shatters the veneer of quiet rural life, hinting at a profound familial crisis. So, you have another child, an illegitimate one, a voice asserts, its tone laced with a mix of surprise and accusation. Yes, I did a DNA test, and it's confirmed. The admission hangs heavy in the air. That's your business with that other person. What does it have to do with me? I will not accept you as my father. The definitive rejection echoes, followed by a starkly pragmatic whisper. A mother's voice, perhaps, imbued with a different calculus. Accept him, son. Maybe he'll give you a lot of money. This jarring opening sets the stage for a narrative steeped in complex personal histories, deep-seated grievances, and the inescapable pull of financial desperation within a family grappling with its past and uncertain future. The scene shifts dramatically, hours or perhaps days earlier, to the quiet hum of everyday struggle. Son, I wonder if your mother-in-law is out seeking goods or just managing to earn a little money for leisure. A mother muses, her voice carrying a weary undertone as she observes a shift in the household's dynamics. Lately, I've seen her quite diligent. Perhaps she's burdened by immense debts, which is driving this newfound industriousness. The observation paints a picture of a relentless pursuit of income, as the individual in question diligently seeks odd jobs, from assisting construction workers to searching for any opportunity that promises significant earnings. Yet this relentless drive for money appears rooted in a deeper, more troubling reality. No, this is too much. Grandma, your husband repaid $3 million yesterday, but there's still $7 million remaining, the mother reveals, her voice tinged with exasperation. Once that debt is settled, how will she ever manage to earn $400 or $500 million to redeem that house? I truly believe she is excessively greedy, obsessed with money, and finds genuine joy only in material wealth. The mother's words underscore a dire financial predicament, a crushing debt of $500 million, a sum that seems insurmountable through ordinary means. The looming question of how long it would take to repay such a colossal amount, 2, 3, even 10 years, is met with a fatalistic certainty. By then, the creditors would have forgotten, and the house would be lost, irrevocably becoming their property. This situation weighs heavily on the mother, a constant source of headaches as she perceives the grandmother's insatiable desire for money as a corrupting force. That's what happens when someone is too obsessed with money, she laments. We, your mother and I, must live carefully, simply. We are poor, we earn what we can, and we eat what we earn. How can an old woman possibly earn hundreds of millions to pay off such a large debt, to reclaim that house? That's her problem, not ours. Your mother and I will not concern ourselves with it. The mother's resolve hardens, her priorities shifting towards stability and self-sufficiency. Your mother and I will stay here with your husband, tending to this garden. By the end of the year, it will provide enough for us to sell and have a little money for Ted. Free from debt, free from the worry of enormous sums. She envisions a life free from the burden of debt, a humble existence sustained by their own labor. Just enough for your mother and me. That's all we need. With a pragmatic eye towards their garden, the mother suggests, Son, if these 2 plots aren't enough, we can clear the water spinach plot next. We'll clear the weeds and plant more, won't we? The physical labor, a grounding force, temporarily diverts from the financial anxieties. As the sun beats down, the soil, softened by recent rain, proves fertile yet challenging. It hasn't rained in a while, the soil is damp, hard to work, she observes, instructing. Son, go get the pillow. Your mother will clear a little of this wood. The simple act of preparing the land becomes a metaphor for their quiet resilience, a stark contrast to the grandmother's frantic pursuit of wealth. Hours pass, marked by the rhythmic motions of clearing and planting. Finished? The mother asks. Finished. A sense of quiet accomplishment settles over them. Let's go home, son. This section we don't have enough seeds for. We'll buy some another day, or when you go to work, you can pick some up. Then we'll plant the rest. The mundane details of farming underscore their struggle, a testament to their unwavering commitment to a modest, independent life. The tools are left, ready for the next day's labor. As the mother notes, it's been 2 days since it was fertilized. Suddenly, the grandmother appears, her face etched with exhaustion. "Did you just get back from work, Grandma? Why do you look so tired today?" The question is innocent, yet it immediately reignites the underlying tension. "Tired, indeed," the grandmother retorts, her voice sharp with grievance. "I asked for help, just a little help to earn some money to pay off my debts, but I got no help. My son and I are too busy working on the garden. We have no time to help you." The mother's blunt refusal sets off a familiar argument. "Always working in the garden. Just help me for a bit. Find some money to pay it off, won't you? You know I'm deep in debt, but you won't even help me earn a little money to pay it back." "You too?" The mother stands firm. "But my son and I are too busy. The garden is overgrown, we need to clear it." The grandmother dismisses their priorities. "The garden can wait. Helping me find money to pay off my debts is more urgent. Is this garden really that important? Just abandon it, neglect it, nothing will grow anyway." The mother's reply is laced with a practical wisdom born of hardship. "It will grow. The soil is fertile, but it needs care. If you don't plant, you'll have nothing to eat tomorrow. If we care for it well, we'll have enough to eat and to sell." The grandmother's frustration boils over. "Always talking about eating and selling. Why don't you help me sell things, get some money to pay people back? Isn't that more important than a few vegetables? If you can't help, just say you're lazy. Always too busy, too busy." The mother, exasperated, finally concedes. All right. My son and I have planted everything now. Next time we will help you, Grandma." The grandmother, momentarily placated, asks, "Did you earn a lot today?" A flash of defiance crosses her face. "That's my business, how much I earn. Why do you ask? You didn't help me, so just leave me be." "I already told you my son and I were rushing to clear the garden to plant some cabbage. Otherwise, we would have helped you. You always talk about this garden. I won't talk about it anymore." The mother, her patience at an end, responds, "If you don't want to talk, then don't. I have too much work. I'm not just sitting around. You're always scolding my son and me." A tense truce is called, as the mother offers a placating, albeit strained, apology. "All right, my son and I apologize, Grandma. We will help you next time." At this crucial moment, a new figure approaches. "Is Mr. Dad here today?" The question hangs heavy, signaling a shift in the domestic drama. "Yes, he's here." The mother's voice, though guarded, carries a hint of anticipation. "Come in, please. Come in." Mr. Dad, a man of significant history with this family, steps inside. "Please, make yourself comfortable," the mother offers, her tone formal. "Where are the children?" she asks, a flicker of concern in her eyes. "My son-in-law is at work and my daughter is in the kitchen," she explains. "My daughter is in the kitchen," she reiterates, a subtle emphasis on the girl's presence. "It's been a long time since you visited," the mother remarks, attempting a pleasant demeanor. "Are you here for something specific or just to visit?" The father replies, "I'm just visiting today. I haven't had much time. Today it's quiet, so I decided to come." His words suggest a calculated timing, a specific purpose hidden beneath the veneer of a casual visit. "Yes, it has been a long time. You never had time before, but today you've made time to visit your children," the mother observes, a hint of unspoken history in her voice. "But you two are well, aren't you?" he asks, his gaze lingering on the mother. "Yes, thank you for asking," she replies, a note of resignation in her voice. "We're fine, just as usual, healthy." The father, however, sees a change. "I haven't visited in a while, and now I see you look thin, Em." She dismisses it. "I feel normal." But he insists, "You look noticeably thinner than before. You used to be plump." She concedes, "I guess I've been thinking too much. That's why I've gotten thin." The mother then delves into the family's woes, specifically the grandmother's disastrous financial decisions. "My mother-in-law, she is too obsessed with money. She listened to outsiders and sold her house, believing she could invest the money and get rich. But now, those people have taken the money and vanished. We can't get the money back, and now she has no home. She has to live with her children here." The father shakes his head, a somber warning in his voice. "In this day and age, you can't trust anyone." Truly, there are many deceitful people now. The mother, still simmering with resentment over past interactions, bristles. You knew she was being deceived. Why didn't you tell me? Now you're saying that to me? She continues, my son and I didn't know. We were just inside. But when she got the money, she came inside and showed it off to us. That's why my son and I were upset. The grandmother, overhearing the conversation, interjects defensively. It's not that I sold my house or anything. It's just that those people were so persuasive, they sweet-talked me into selling and investing, so I did it. The mother's pent-up frustration erupts. But you knew. You should have advised me not to sell the house, then I wouldn't have lost it. The grandmother's defense crumbles under the weight of the mother's memory. Advise what? At that time, you had money. You even said you had a new daughter-in-law who knew how to make money. Then you came and boasted to my son and me, even scolding us for being poor and saying we'd die living like that. You scolded my son and me like that, and I still remember it. She refuses to dwell on it further. I won't say much. You talk too much about these swindlers. Are these swindlers from far away or nearby? The father inquires, trying to grasp the situation. The swindler has been caught, the mother reveals, but they are currently in detention. We tried to find their parents, but they are working far away and won't come to bail them out. A grim reality sets in. So what can be done now? The mother explains, they say the child is very unruly, so the parents don't care. They're just letting them be detained for as long as needed. So what can I do? Where will I get the money to reclaim the house? The father, with a resigned sigh, observes, so you trusted people too easily, and that's why you were deceived. The mother's voice is heavy with regret. Yes, that's right. Now I've lost everything. I have nothing left. A silence falls, heavy with unspoken concerns, until the father shifts the conversation. So, is your son coming home soon? The mother perks up slightly. Yes, he should be back soon, An. It's almost noon now. The father settles in. So, you're looking for my son-in-law for something, An? The father nods. Yes, I have a small matter to discuss. That's why I came. The mother suggests, then please wait a little while. He should be back any moment.
Me too.
The father agrees. I'll wait. The anticipation in the small home grows palpable, culminating in the sound of an approaching figure. Here comes your son, the mother exclaims. Oh, you're back from work, son? She asks, a tremor of excitement in her voice. Father is here? Hang, her son, responds, acknowledging his father's presence even as he confirms his return from labor. Yes, I just got back from work. He greets his father. Have you been here long, father? The father replies, I just arrived a short while ago. Hang, sensing the gravity of the visit, inquires, Is there something you wish to discuss, father? The father's composure belies the weight of his revelation. Yes, I have a matter to discuss. Recently, I discovered I have another child, an illegitimate one, whom I abandoned before. I just found him, and he has accepted me as his father. A bombshell drops into the quiet domestic scene. Hang, visibly stunned, asks, You have another child, father? The mother confirms, Yes, he does. And earlier that child came here. Did you meet him? Hang recalls, Oh, that person who came here earlier? Yes, I met him. He told me you were his father. His skepticism is evident. But is it true? Is it accurate? The father assures him, It's accurate. I recently took a DNA test and it's confirmed. He is indeed my child. A shadow of regret crosses the father's face as he recounts the painful past. In the past, I made a mistake. I abandoned my child on the streets. Later, I tried to find him. I searched everywhere, but that entire area had changed. It was deserted. Then I found him again, called him into a house for a drink, got to know him, and he finally accepted me as his father. That's when I found out. He confirms the identity of the previously mentioned child. That child, that's your son, An? The father nods. Yes, that child is my son. The mother comments, so in the past you used to go out a lot, didn't you? The father confesses, "Yes, in my youth, I never thought like I do now. I used to party too much, and I neglected my children, couldn't raise them, abandoned them like that." He continues, his voice heavy with the burden of age and regret. "Now I am old, and I have only just found my children again. That youngest child, too, he has accepted me as his father. His wife and he live in a small shack, and I saw how difficult their lives were. So since he accepted me, I've brought him to live with me." The mother responds, "That's good on." But Hang, the original son, interjects, his voice cold. "That's your business with him. What does it have to do with me?" The father, with a determined gaze, tries to bridge the divide. "It does, son. It's related. He is your brother. Now, you two brothers should accept each other. Yes. And you should accept me as your father, too." Hang's rejection is swift and unyielding. "I will not accept you as my father. If you had accepted me when I came to talk to you before, I wouldn't have had to wait until now. I would have called you father a long time ago. But back then, you kept denying me, saying it wasn't true, saying I was only after your wealth and money, which is why I came to call you father. Since you said that, I will not accept you, and I don't want to discuss this further." The father, his voice tinged with a plea, acknowledges his past errors. "Son, this is my fault. In the past, I abandoned you. That is my mistake. Please understand, just as your brother did. I made a mistake with him too, abandoning him before, but now that I've found him, he understands me. He has accepted me. Now please understand me too. It is my fault." Hang remains unmoved. "Whether that brother accepts you or not, that's your business. It has nothing to do with me. As for me, I will never accept you. Because when I came to see you, you clearly stated that there was no father-son relationship between us. You made that clear." The father, though hurt, offers a compromise. "If you don't accept me as your father, that's not important. But I want you and your brother too to accept each other as siblings, so you can have affection and get to know each other. Later, if there's any work, you two can help each other." Hang, however, is cautious. "Even though he is my brother, I need time to consider and think about it." The father presses on. "Tu is your brother. Just accept him, so you two can live together." The mother, observing the tense exchange, cannot resist a sardonic comment directed at the father. "So, you've had many wives, haven't you? Every now and then, another child appears." The father tries to downplay it. "I've had few wives." The mother scoffs. "Few? By my rough count, you've had 3 or 4 wives already." The father quickly tries to close the topic. "That's enough, Em. Let's not talk about the past. Today, I mainly came here hoping you would accept your brother too, and I also hope you will accept me as your father's son." Then comes the unexpected offer, a powerful incentive. "The money I lent you, whatever amount is left, I will not take it back. I will leave it to you." Hang, ever principled, declines the financial overture. "The money I borrowed from you, I will repay it in due time." The father insists, "No, son, I won't take that money back. I'll leave it to compensate you. You don't need to repay me." Hang, however, is firm. "No, that's not right. When I have it, I will still send it to you." He then clarifies, "As for the money my son-in-law borrowed, he will repay it in due time on. And regarding the matter of my brother too, my son-in-law needs time to reconsider." The father dismisses their reservations about the money. "This doesn't require thinking. That money, I'm just leaving it for my children." Hang's mind, however, immediately turns to fairness. "But if you leave that money for me, what about my brother?" The father reassures him. "What about your brother knowing?" "It's fine, son. It's fine if Tu knows. This is a gift from me. I'm not giving it to Tu. The money I borrowed was from Kui, wasn't it?" "Yes, from Kui, not Tu." The father insists again. "But it's fine, son. You don't need to repay it. What if your brother knows? This is my savings." He adds, his voice laden with emotion. "Now that I've found my children, I'm giving this money to you." The mother, her mercenary instincts kicking in, interjects. You've had so many wives, and yet you've still managed to save so much money. Or do you have more money? Can you lend me a little to pay off my debts? Hang's son-in-law, overhearing, snaps, "Mother, you're always like this. You haven't even paid off old debts, and now you're asking to borrow more? How will you ever repay it?" The mother defends herself, her financial desperation stark. "But I need to borrow to pay off that nephew's debt. Then I'll work as a maid or find money to gradually repay this man. I'm not just taking it for free, son." Hang's son-in-law retorts, "My son-in-law is right, mother. You always talk about money and immediately ask to borrow. The old debts haven't even been repaid." The grandmother, for her part, dismisses their concerns. "This doesn't concern you two. Leave me be. If I borrow, I will repay. I'm borrowing now because I'm afraid of that nephew. I'm borrowing to repay him. I know what I'm doing. It has nothing to do with you." She then turns to the father. "But I see you're lazy when it comes to earning money. When it comes to money, you're quick to ask to borrow." The mother, seeing an opportunity, addresses the father directly. Do you still need a helper? I can work for you." The father politely declines. "No, I don't need one now. I have little work at home. I can manage by myself." He elaborates. "Just sweeping around the house, raising chickens and ducks, that's all. Let me help you with the work." The father's refusal is gentle but firm. "No, I'll do it myself now. Let me sweep the house, wash dishes, cook for you, An." He reiterates, "No, I don't need help now. I can do it myself. I'm lonely at home by myself. I can stay there and help you with work." He is resolute. "No, I don't need help anymore." The mother, desperate to secure a position, even offers to work off the debt. "Then later, you can deduct from the money, An." The father dismisses the idea. "No, if I employ you, it will create rumors later. My children are now living with me." Hang's son-in-law cuts in, his patience wearing thin. "Mother, your problems are yours to handle. Go find money to pay your debts. There are always problems, and every little thing means borrowing money." "I can't stand it." The mother, chastened, replies, "I know, I'm always looking for money. I thought this man had a lot, so I could borrow a little to pay it back. I've told you many times, but you still ask. I can't stand it." The father interjects, bringing the conversation back to his primary purpose. "Enough, son. Today, I mainly came here so you would accept your brother, and accept me as your father. That's all." Hang finally responds, his decision weighed heavily. "All right. Regarding my brother, I will come down to talk to him someday. But regarding you, I haven't decided to accept you or call you father yet. Because of how you treated me before, I told you then that even if you recognized me, I wouldn't call you father. I made that clear." Hang continues, his stance unyielding. "So whatever you say now, it's the same. As for Tu, I know about him. I'll bring my wife down someday to meet Tu and his wife to talk." The father nods, seemingly accepting this partial victory. "That's good. But when you go down, you and Tu, just accept each other as brothers. That's all. As for the money, when I have it, I will send it to you." The father's final gesture of goodwill. "All right, you don't need to send that money back to me, son. Goodbye, I'm going home now. Goodbye, my children. Goodbye, you two." The mother, ever the opportunist, calls out, "Stay and play, uncle." But the father, weary, insists, "No." She offers, "Please drive safely, uncle." The father turns to Hang, a final plea in his eyes. "Now please think about it, son. I still hope you will accept me as your father."